a voice at this table for our families. I was merely trying to emphasize the importance of vigilance to try to follow established protocols and to mitigate the quarantines and any potential spread in our community. I was not placing blame on any individuals, but calling attention to our community as a whole. I remain highly impressed with the hard work and dedication of our staff, especially with the AES staff that's been working tirelessly in person since September. We're all making sacrifices in this pandemic and should recognize these sacrifices, kids, families, teachers, and staff alike. I'd also like to clarify that my comments are my own, as is any comment a board member makes when they're speaking at a board meeting. Unless we are voting, we are speaking on our own behalf. In addition, I'd like to clarify my comments on spring break, which seem to have been misunderstood. I made a suggestion that we review the school calendar given the high positivity rates we saw among children during our last extended break over the holidays. Given that March is also an extremely busy time for workers in our community, it seemed like common sense to me to examine whether or not in this COVID-ridden year, it was still a good idea to let loose 1,500 kids on the community for a week, while many parents will necessarily be working. Perhaps we should shorten the break or push it into April or beyond, pivoting to a schedule that could make more sense, especially for the working families in our community, just as we have done in other areas. Or not. It was a suggestion that we should have a conversation about the idea, and only a suggestion. I am just one board member. I've heard feedback from many community members this week, parents and staff alike, both positive and negative comments from each group. Let me reemphasize that. I've heard both positive and negative comments from teachers and positive and negative comments from parents about my comments. Clearly, we are in an emotionally charged time where we will not always agree, but I want everyone listening to understand that I too am listening. I'm happy to speak with anyone who would like to listen to me or would like me to listen to them. Clarity before agreement. Let's move forward to work to make our district the best it can be for all of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Wayne, you want to speak?
Well, yes. I don't recall the last time somebody asked me if I wanted to speak. They already knew that, right? I'm sorry. Katie, thank you, by the way. That I think that's really important, and I for one appreciate those expressions and those clarifications and the apology. As a fellow board member, I empathize not only with the positions that we're all in, but I also I want to make sure that the community understands, and most notably our professional staff, all of our team there, feel and understand more of us from our hearts and from a level of care and connection. So well done. We're all there with you, and I feel the same way. I kind of want to sometimes take back some of the words that I've said from time to time, and it just, the hot emotion gets a hold of me, and so I'm there with you. So I appreciate that. I have a couple of quick comments. I did post up a couple of just progress statements in our board docs that you guys can catch. More just kind of progress on the bond work and a couple of the housing matters, and that's all good. But again, you can see it there. I wanted to underscore the states and the governor's kind of recommitment to the batting order for some priorities for the vaccinations, which I think is super cool. I mean, most people have seen this to recognize that our obviously our public education staff and most of the employees there got a kind of an underscore of emphasis for February 8th, to kind of really be in that batting order. And I just want to say, if anyone from the county who has any particular decision-making authority or even some public press here that can emphasize and give positive vibe and support to our county as they are trying to obviously receive and then distribute those important vaccinations, amen. Let's all lean into that, and hopefully February 8th and then the next week or two thereafter, we can get into that flow, get to the front of that line, get those teachers and our staff, to the extent that we can, get them vaccinated. I think that will help. It's not obviously the magic wand or the silver bullet, but it is clearly forward progress towards getting ourselves safer and protecting our teachers. And I'm also enlightened to see the move of our community from level red, given the fact that our incidence rate and our positivity rates and all the hospitalizations, those numbers have come down. Bravo. And I think that's going to allow more people to get back to work. It's going to allow more people to focus and get some of their lives back in some level of order. And that's, I think we got to, like you said, Katie, we got to hope that, and so did you, Susie, got to hope that a lot of folks in the community, all the folks in the community, commit to the standards of care that keeps us safe and keeps us from getting back to those hot numbers. Let me finish with this. I want to say that, as a parent, I very much appreciate the opportunity to have the kids get moving back. At least I'm a parent of a couple of high school students. So moving back towards some semblance of in-school is very, very helpful from a mental health and stress perspective. I want to say that from a parent view, and I also want to say from a board view that I know the teachers feel very, very frustrated, and for that I want to extend also an apology. I don't want you to ever think that we're not there with you. We need to regain some of your trust, and we need to regain some of our relationship with you. And I, for one, endeavor to be better and to try harder, to have a better ear, and to come up with better solutions that get us together and not against. So appreciate the opportunity there, and I'll pass the mic.
Great. Susan? Jonathan? Susan?
I've got a couple things real quick. Thanks. I just was, I would echo my fellow board members' comments. And I too want to make sure that we are just acknowledging how grateful we are for all of the hard work that everyone in our school district community is going through right now. And I think aside from the healthcare industry, I can't think of an industry that has changed more during the pandemic. All of a sudden, in addition to all of the health concerns, we have to completely restructure our teaching model. And that's a huge thing. And we really need to acknowledge that that's a challenge for our students, our parents, and our staff members and teachers. And so in spite of that, we have gotten kids into school in person. We have created better ways to provide remote learning, and we're continuing to get more and more kids in there with their teachers in person. And we know that that's the most valuable thing for our students. And so we really are so grateful to all of our school community for making that happen. And so I would just want to commend and acknowledge all of our staff. So that's our teachers right in there with the students, our transportation department, our food services, the maintenance department. I mean, everyone who is, and administrators as well, worked, way above and beyond what would be a normal year of school. So, and then, our parents who have had to jump in and be teachers as well. And so I just know that they particularly appreciate teachers after that experience. And so do we. So that's it. Just wanted to make sure that we are letting you know that we are supporting you. We are humbled by all your great work, and just very appreciative.
Totally agree. Jonathan, you want to go?
Just two things that are prior to saying something else. One, I was able to have a great meeting with Dan to start discussing how to make some improvements as far as our overall HR systems and things along those lines, and getting back to doing some just standard things that are good in terms of helping to build culture and climate, aligning the district around common sets of priorities, all of those kinds of things. So that was great. I also went in and had that pending item that's out there I sent to you guys in terms of trying to get our goals and priorities for the year a little bit more detailed and then nailed down. So if you guys could just go ahead and help with that document so we could maybe publish it on the next meeting in terms of progress as well that we think we've made so far on that overall. So those are kind of two things along those lines. And the thing I would say, thanks for your comments, Katie. I would say that, it's important for everybody to understand we're all in this together. I mean, there's no one group that's suffering more than the other or any less than the other. We're all stuck in this crummy situation that nobody brought about on ourselves and nobody wanted to be involved in anyway. I don't think anybody said, yeah, I raised my hand to be part of this global pandemic and get stuck in my house and not have my kids be able to go to school and not be able to go to my job half the time and lose income. And, in the worst cases, people are losing family members. And on top of all of this, we know that it's negatively impacting all of our kids, right? So they're having increased mental health issues. They're definitely not learning as well as they should be. There are some people that are now saying that, kids have lost the entire year and they'll never be able to get caught back up. So that's the reality of the situation that we're all in. So that's just, we all need to be considerate of everybody. So it's just kind of a little breath of patience. Here we had something that I think personally kind of just got a little bit blown out of hand in terms of if we had just said, hey, let's try and understand what's really being said on both sides and move forward and be sensitive to everyone all along. What I don't think we can do is not talk about the issues. I think there are some things that we need to be honest about and be transparent with and have discussions about that so we can move forward. I don't think we need to try and blow things out of proportion or cover things up or anything along those lines. I think we just need to say, hey, what's really happening, what's best for the kids, and try and get to the best agreement we can around it, understanding that during a difficult situation like this, there's a lot of competing priorities that everybody needs to balance. But I think if we continue to focus on kids' education and what's best for the kids and the families and the staff and doing all these things in a safe manner and following protocols and doing that, I think we'll be fine. But just, it's going to take a little more patience and a little bit of zen from everybody as we continue to move forward. And that would be my piece there.
Thanks so much. So let's move to 4.2 public comment. And I'll remind our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people have signed up. Is that correct, Eliza? 7. That the board is unable to discuss or respond to public comments that are not on the agenda, but will assure that the person making the comments receives follow-up from the board or superintendent. And I also wanted to remind speakers that their comments are limited to 3 minutes. And if your topic requires additional time, board members are available for more in-depth discussions on an individual basis. And feel free to contact any board member directly. If more than one person wishes to speak on the same topic, speakers are asked to provide only new information. Please do not repeat views already expressed by other speakers. And finally, please refrain from making complaints or negative comments about specific students or district employees. School board meetings are a limited public or open forum. Comments should be focused on the operation of the schools and district, and complaints about employees and individuals should be directed to the superintendent.
And Susie, can I just say something quick about public comment? I know there have been some questions about why we are continuing to kind of adjust this a little bit. And the idea here is that we can get a better information base and make sure we're having more consistent follow-up through all this public comment. So in terms of, there's been a lot of public comment this year. The only way to really get into in-depth to what people said is to actually go back and watch the videos that we're posting online now to improve transparency. But that makes it difficult to have a good management system. So we're trying to get more information that's documented into the spreadsheet, and we're even going to go one step farther and ask for the written comments from people, so that Serena sent us a great email before this, kind of listing, here are some things that I think are key that we should be able to take into consideration. But we're going to start asking that to be done on a consistent basis if you want to make public comments, so that we can capture that and not just have it stuck on video somewhere and then be able to do continued follow-up. So that's, I just wanted to clarify that, because I know we've gotten an email or two about why are you asking if, for certain things about like who the people were and if they had been talked about with somebody. And it's just more to improve that administrative process than anything.
Without becoming a big of a hurdle or some sort of implied resistor. Obviously, that's the balance that we're trying to achieve. And
Yeah,
I think you describe it well in terms of our goal and our intention. I just want to make sure that it's explicitly stated. There's no rhyme or reason to try to block or inhibit. And in fact, as you said, I think there will become more transparency, more actual data, more reference. And I think that's been one of our goals as a district and as a broader community, to increase and improve the transparency and the openness and the rigor, frankly, of our performance. Yeah.
agreed.
All right, so let's move on to Kristen Zodro. Is she here? Yes,
Yep, I'm here.
great, go ahead.
Hi, before you start timing me, I do just want to make a quick response. I very much appreciate you all taking the time to either apologize or comment on the past board meeting and some of the articles in the paper. And I would even make a suggestion to add public praise to the beginning of your meeting, because as a teacher, it does feel good to hear this from you. I did write a letter in response to Katie's comments. It is not a complaint, but I have some solutions that I'm going to propose for all of you, and I hope that you can hear my words and we can move forward from this. Okay, so Susie, you can begin timing me now. Thank you. I want to respond to the comments that were made by Katie Frisch in the January 19th board meeting and in the Aspen Daily News about teachers and their decision-making. I was one of the middle school teachers who tested positive for the virus 2 weeks ago. When I received the results of my positive test, I was shocked, and then I went into a phase of being very scared, and then I was very sad to hear what was happening at the board meeting. Casting judgment and making unfounded accusations in a public forum about teacher behavior was inappropriate. I felt publicly shamed by someone who chose to use their time to criticize and embarrass instead of showcase empathy, respect, and compassion. Using this platform to assert negative judgment and provide misleading information about a teacher or group of teachers, in my opinion, was reprehensible. The bigger issue I see, however, is how this board has apparently been conditioned to turn a blind eye to this behavior. Finger pointing and placing blame on teachers and staff for causing problems and allegedly spreading the virus are unnecessary, especially when most of our exposures, like my own, come from showing up every day and just doing our job. The teachers of the Aspen, sorry, I'm nervous. The Aspen School District model good citizenship, human compassion, respectful dialogue, positive decision-making, and now overcoming difficult situations. So as a solutions-based community, I challenge our elected and appointed leaders here, as well as any other staff members and parents, our silent majority parents, to speak up, to put a stop to this toxic, dismissive communication that's taking place in these meetings. Remaining silent instead of holding each other accountable for our words sends the message of acceptance or agreement that disrespectful, hurtful comments about teachers and staff are okay. We teach our students every day that words matter. Let's listen to ourselves. So what we need right now during this extraordinary time of pandemic, as well as in the future, is positive collaboration, respectful communication, support and accountability. And here's the most important one: unwavering compassion for each other, for our school staff, and especially for our frontline teaching staff. I so appreciate your comments, and I am hopeful to see how this pans out in how communication changes moving forward. Because I will say that it feels like we are in a dark hole, but like Jonathan has said, and Dwayne, you've said, we're all in this together. We're fighting the same fight. So let's communicate as such, and let's show each other compassion and respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you say at the beginning that you would not have needed to write that letter if you had heard Katie's comments beforehand? You said something about the letter.
This is about 400 versions of this letter. This was the most edited one, I would think. No, I felt called. I was the sixth grade teacher. I was the one who tested positive. I was the one that was referenced for shutting the sixth grade down. And to hear comments like that when I was already in isolation with just me, myself, and I being scared, it just felt like I was being kicked when I was down.
I feel very bad for that. I feel very bad. And I wish that didn't happen.
But you know what? We can move forward. It's a learning lesson, right? And I just hope that not if, but when someone else tests positive, unfortunately, because here we are in a global pandemic, we reframe this conversation, okay? That is the most important thing. It should be a, hey, how are you? And not, whoa, you're reckless, poor decision. We've got to change that.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. We went a little bit over because it was a bit touching and we wanted to give you the time, but we're going to move on now. Thank you so much.
Fine by me. Thanks, Susie.
Casey Cunningham.
Thank you. I also echo the sentiments that Kristen just shared. My teaching philosophy has always been to teach by example. Lessons in my classroom are taught not just through words, but through actions. I embody and model these lessons daily. Lessons of kindness, empathy, compassion, and the importance of always telling the truth. This is how we mold future generations. This is how we build a better society, model the actions we want to instill in our students. I'm scared of the message that our school parents and community have been sending to our youth during this time when they take actions that show we do not need to care about our fellow man. To continue forward with what you want, no matter the cost to others, even if it's their heart and lung functions. Examples. What lessons are taught when the youth is told, do not test because you'll have to quarantine? Instead of test so we can stop the spread in our community. What is taught when you continue with your weekend plans instead of following quarantine procedures? Or what is taught when kids are told to not tell their teachers that they're sick instead of taking responsibility for your actions or thinking that your actions can save a life? There have been several teachers that have become ill following parents breaking protocols. Of these cases, one of the teachers went to emergent care twice over the holidays, and another's having heart complications due to COVID that Pickens County traced back to our schools. And the truth is, several classes that have had a child test positive in quarantine have had other students test positive. What did these kids have in common? The classroom. Just last week, there was a case in which a kid tested positive, then their child tested positive,
Oh,
and
wait.
the mom was hospitalized.
No, I just connect this, I think.
The mom being hospitalized followed the class cases. Our admin has a responsibility to report transmissions that have occurred in our school to the papers and in our COVID scale. I had a parent state, if I knew there had been transmissions, I would have taken my quarantine more seriously. This information would have modeled behavior of our parents and students, which in turn could have lessened cases in our community. Our admin has the responsibility to report the truth regarding numbers so that parents can make informed decisions. They have the responsibility to also to describe their teachers as hardworking individuals they are. Blaming teachers for COVID and quarantines and not the pandemic further hinders the divide between parents and teachers that have been happening in our community this year. Furthermore, what are school boards demonstrating to the youth when we divide our community instead of bring it together? What kind of generations are we molding by these actions? What exactly are these actions telling our future generations? Our school board, administration, a number of parents, and community had 3 months to teach the most valuable lessons to our youth. Lessons of compassion, empathy, civic responsibility, but most importantly, acting for the common good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Larissa Bone?
You're good. I respond. Okay. No, hi guys. I work at the high school. I work in athletics. I used to work at the elementary school and I taught for ACEs. I'm also a medical school dropout, which I do find important to say because I have never felt more conflicted between my values as an educator and as a scientist, going off what other people have said. I also want to piggyback off Kristen so as not to repeat. I genuinely appreciate the apologies. I am not going to criticize any of your decisions here. I just really want to talk about some of the intricacies of teaching that I'm sure some of you are aware of. I love kids. I love the little kids. I love the high school kids. I think they're awesome. My favorite part about kids is they watch you. They watch everything they do, everything that you do, and they try and emulate you. It's honestly incredible, and it has made me be a better person. So I do have a science background, and if any of you guys are aware of a chemistry, you put in reagents and you get out products. That reaction is always going to happen, but if you add a catalyst, that happens a lot faster. So with regards to teaching and why that's related at all, I was going off the comments from the last board meeting of which a lot of teachers and staff considered to be bullying. That's the thing with feelings. You really can't say they're wrong. If someone's feeling something, that feeling is true. That's something us as educators know. You can try and talk them down, which we often have to, but the feelings are true. I was wondering what would happen if a kid asked me what to do if they saw a bully bullying one of their friends. The way that, not just in the last board meeting, I don't think it's fair to single anyone out. This has been happening all year by admin and board members and upper admin. My friends, these people I love, my teachers and my staff members have been feeling bullied. And I thought about what I would say to a kid if they came and asked me what to do. And I would say, well, you should stand up to them and tell them that behavior is not right, which Kristen did a great job of, by the way. Good job, bud. And then walk away. I tell them to walk away. And I still have kids looking at me as an example. So again, for the chemical reaction, I've had personal and professional reasons why I've been considering Aspen School District, but I'm going to be completely honest with you that the comments from the last board meeting absolutely catalyzed my decision to put in my 2 weeks notice on Friday. I do not want to be a part of a system that continues to bully these peoples I love, teachers. I was in one of these families that you guys keep referencing of making $52,000 a year and being abusive, both physically and mentally, and having dependency problems. And I was that kid going to school and having my life absolutely saved by teachers. So to see them shed in this light is just absolutely breaking my heart. And those of you that do know me, if I've worked with your kids, I do think I might be a bit of a loss to this district. And I am just asking, please consider your words and your actions more seriously. Like, these teachers are giving their absolute all. They are wrecked. And just one more thing, like, no, it's really hard to compare people's struggles in life, but a big thing of privilege is accepting when other people are struggling harder than you. And I can absolutely say, like, those teachers now at the elementary school that have been in every single day have it harder than me in this office, without a doubt. If any of you guys are wondering where to go from here, I just highly advise, the best advice I ever got. Last thing is, if your kindergarten teacher wouldn't be proud of you doing it, it probably isn't the right thing to do. And I really appreciate the opportunity to work here. And I really hope this bullying and this vitriol does stop, because the biggest response to me telling my coworkers that I was putting in 2 weeks was, oh, don't worry, I have my resignation letter written too. And I just thought you guys would like to know. Thank you so much. And I do absolutely love your kids, especially your Susan. She's an absolute spitfire and was one of my favorites. So thank you for this opportunity, guys.
Thank you, Larissa. Sorry to see you go.
Can I say, hey, wait, I'm sorry, and I know this is out of protocol, but I love Larissa. I worked for Larissa as one of her assistant coaches, and I'm bummed with the messaging there. That you're dropping your 2-week notice. I hope that there's something that can be done to keep you on the team, because you've done such great. You've had, like you said, you've had great influence on a lot of kids, and really appreciate your example. And again, I dig working for you.
And I don't, again, just to clarify, if I can, this is by no means an exact result of the board. That's why I made that chemistry analogy. Like, it was simply catalyzed by what happened. I just want to make that abundantly clear. I'm an adult and I make my own decisions, and I'm 27, single, and have a savings. So when I don't like my job, I can leave it. I just wanted to let you guys know that there are other people putting a lot more thought into their plans for leaving, and we're about to lose a lot of good educators if we don't all get together, like has been the messaging of this meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dwayne. And shall we move on to Adam Good? And if Adam is not here, we can go to Catherine Whipple and come back to Adam.
Can you hear me there? Okay. Now am I on mute?
No, we hear you.
Okay, and now I hear you. It had a delay for a second. First, thank you all so much for letting me come and speak today, and thank you for all of your hard work. The juggling session that this year has been hard on all of us, even the administration, who the parents don't get to see as readily as our fabulous teachers. So credit to y'all for everything you're doing, credit to the teachers, and thank y'all so much, teachers, for speaking up also, because the point of my letter and what I'm saying is, let's be inclusive together about our community and our kids. I'm going to read the letter quickly, so that way other people who are on the call who might not have seen the email that I sent out to those that I do know in the community can be on board with where this is coming from. This letter is written from thoughts and ideas from staff members, teachers, and parents in regards to a suggestion from the school board's meeting on January 19th to modify or cancel spring break. Side note, Katie, thank you very, very much for clarifying your comments. I'm going to also put that out to everybody so they understand, and if they didn't see the school board meeting, they'll understand your reasoning. That's just as important as where they're coming from also. We appreciate the ability to start this conversation between all parties who are involved in our community's children's education and safety. Some of these persons also bridge 2 of these positions. It does need to be pointed out that there is still a part of our school community that feels the need to speak anonymously for fear of reprisal from other groups involved in the school process. From our viewpoint, and from seeing firsthand the mental, emotional, and even physical impact of this extremely tough year on teachers and students, any suggestion of removing or changing the date to spring break needs to be immediately stopped. The school staff, support teams, teachers, and students need this break more than ever. The stress of switching from in-person to online, and sometimes back and forth with only a 24-hour notification, has been greatly taxing to all people involved. What the discussion should be is how to handle the immediate week after spring break. Many feel that how the return to school after both previous extended holiday breaks let everyone down, and if handled properly could have prevented mandatory quarantines of entire classrooms. Suggestions made have ranged from mandatory remote learning week. If testing is done, stay remote until results come back, thus avoiding what happened after the Thanksgiving break. A letter from the school board reminding everyone of the protocols to keep children and staff safe. Include verbiage encouraging minimizing outside interactions between different families, whether staying at home or leaving the valley. Yes, if Florida is open, Florida might be open, but remember what Pickens County's rules are while on break. Have a hybrid model week for the week after spring break. Parents who can prove a negative COVID test for their children that was taken 2 or 3 days prior before returning to school may attend in-person learning. Parents who choose to opt out of this testing will do remote learning for the week, and if their children show symptoms during that week, ask to follow the quarantine protocols before returning to school. If remote learning the week after is called for, parents who choose to be irresponsible and treat it as an extended week vacation will be asked to have their children quarantined upon return to the valley, starting the next week, the second week after spring break. It is suggested that the handling of the week after spring break have an immediate questionnaire sent out to all members of the Aspen School District community to come to a consensus that works best for all involved with the school board's approval. We are an amazing community that continually strives to put our children first. Let's continue to do so by having open and evolving discussions about this. And that's, I think, what a lot of teachers have been saying. Let's have open discussions about this. Even the fellow board members, I really appreciate you saying, let's have open discussions about this. We have roughly 7 weeks to be able to really nail down something that is comprehensive, intelligent, can work across our schedules with each other. One parent even mentioned, like, hey, if we go and we come back, this was brought up today after I sent the letter, that test should come maybe from inside the valley and not a test that was done before the person hopped on a plane and then came here and is showing their negative test results. This is just a conversation we all want to be able to have, so we have a thoughtful, in place plan of action for this.
Thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Let's move on. That was very thoughtful. Let's move on to Serena.
All right, thank you. So yeah, thank you for your opening comments. I thought those were really great. And Kristen, thank you for standing up for yourself. That was awesome as well. Larissa, I was hoping I was gonna go right after you because you guys have my letter. I'm not gonna read that. Hopefully you read it. It sounds like Jonathan did, so I appreciate that. I put on my subject matter, attract and retain. This last week was probably the hardest week of my teaching career. And some of that came from the HR letter that was basically telling teachers to, I won't rephrase it, but it felt like we were being attacked for potentially getting COVID. And it felt really just horrible. I'm so thankful for Theron, who took my phone call and actually talked me off the ledge. I'm so thankful for Sarah and Becky, who are, to me, that's a step for the board to take, is to make sure you're talking to them because their staff trust them. They are open with us, but they also include us in decisions that matter, and there's full transparency there, and that feels fantastic. So I would definitely say try to reach out to them and see what they're doing. But the letter from HR, the comments that were made in the paper in the board meeting, all of that, really, like a 20-year veteran here, it was the hardest. This has been so hard for all of us. I know elementary school teachers are really feeling it because they're in, but it's not like I signed up to teach in this way or to spend so much time looking at a screen. It is killing my soul. But to go concurrent is not a great solution because now I'm in a mask as I'm talking to my students, and some of them are in front of me and some of them are in a Zoom. It's also not awesome, but I am willing to do what we think is right. I think a lot of great suggestions have happened here to help us keep good teachers and attract teachers. We're not going to attract people or keep them here if we're making them feel like we're accusing them of getting sick during a pandemic because they're only friends, they're only people outside of maybe as a single mom, my son, are my colleagues. So the idea that like, I can't spend time talking to them, but I can spend 85 to 125 minutes with 15 different students from different families, that's okay. I had a real problem with that, and it just felt horrible. So a lot of people have said words and actions. I think they're both really important. Actions we take are good salaries, good benefits, and affordable housing. Those are actions we can take to attract and retain. And then really being mindful with our words. I'd love to say what was already suggested. Starting with positivity around staff would go a long way. Shows of gratitude go a really long way. And also maybe our community listens. A lot of teachers have taken that, and I would highly recommend that for the board as well. You were talking about, like, I think Dwayne, you said something about the ear, you know, like open up the ears a little bit more. That is so huge. I feel like we reached a level of frustration just because we don't feel heard. And that's when we end up sending all letters, coming in board meetings, and frustration bubbles over. We want to feel like we're part of the conversation and we are in this together, because we are. I love this district. I love the community. I love my students. I don't love my job right now, and that's not necessarily your fault. It's just a pandemic. But I think when we don't hear gratitude coming for all the things that we're doing, it just feels even worse. It feels so close to a vaccine and spring and hopefully graduation in the tent and all the great stuff. I feel like, can we just make sure that we're, as Susie started the meeting with, kindness and compassion, so important right now. So I think we need to feel like you hear us, and we need to stop any kind of blame game for people getting sick. That's always been my biggest fear about COVID, is that because it's so unpredictable and it's just so unknown, I set my own timer, that we need to make sure that we don't enter into that blame game, but we still are working together for the best thing for all of our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was worth your extra overtime. Kamala Marsh.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your comments, and especially thank you to my colleagues for all your amazing comments. And Kristen, you're not alone. Those comments hurt all of us to the core, not just you, so, which I know you know, but I just had to say that. So anyway, my time, I'm starting to time myself. I'm Kamala, I teach Spanish in the middle school. And I felt really compelled to come and talk today because of the board meeting last week, or last 2 weeks ago, but also not just that meeting and what was said at that meeting, but also what's been a pattern since the beginning of the school year. And, you know, President Biden has some great words that I'm going to quote, because I think what he said in his inaugural speech was very powerful. He said, quote, "This is our historic moment of crisis and challenge. And unity is our path forward," unquote. I believe that unity is our path forward, and our unity needs to be a positive unity. And our entire Aspen School District community, the board, and any employee in the Aspen School District has a responsibility to the community to lead by example and lead in a positive example. And we all have been working so hard, every single one of us, but we need to hear it. And my colleagues have expressed that already today here, that we need to hear that. We need to have positive feedback, but we also just need to know that you're listening, and we need to know that you're hearing us. To quote President Biden again in his inaugural speech, quote, "The ways of unity is to see each other not as adversaries, but as neighbors." Sorry, adversaries. I always get that wrong. I speak 7 languages. You think I get these things right. I'm going to start over. The way of unity is to see each other not as adversaries, but as neighbors. Treat each other with dignity and respect. We can join forces, stop the shouting, and lower the temperature. For without unity, there is no peace, only bitterness and fury, no progress, only exhausting outrage, only a state of chaos," unquote. I think those words are very powerful. And I think that we need to listen to those words of President Biden's and work together to build our unity to our path forward. We need our voices. We need positive voices. Every single board member needs to use your voice in a positive way. You have said some very positive things tonight, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate the apologies. I appreciate what you have thoughtfully thought about. I now would love to see action. Words are very important, but action is very important. Action forward to unify our path. We are not always going to agree. We are going to disagree. So to quote President Biden one last time, quote, disagreement must not lead to disunion, unquote. And I feel like we are cracking apart. And to lose teachers because of what is happening is a travesty. And so I implore you and every person of the Aspen School District to reunify, to do our path forward in a positive manner, and to care for each other and be kind. Thank you.
Thank you. That was lovely. And it was only 1 minute over. So that was great. Let's move on to, thank you all. Those were heartfelt comments, and we appreciate hearing how you feel, all of you. Reports and comments, that shouldn't say that on the, we're gonna move to 5.1, a board and AEF work session. It's given 20 minutes. It's okay if it goes 15 minutes, but Cynthia, and I saw her.
Hi. I'm here. Hi. Hi.
Hi. Do I turn it to you at this point?
Sure, I can start. Yeah, no problem. Hi, everybody. I don't know. I can start out from AEF that for the 3rd year in a row, we are very happy that we're able to fulfill our district commitment for the next school year. We fundraise for the next school year. So I think everybody knows how it works, but we sit down with the superintendent and kind of focused around our priority programs that we've identified with the superintendent and the administration. And we fundraise for those for the next school year, right? So we this year completed our fiscal year runs until the end of June or the end of May. And then we write a check for the 21-22 school year. And we have raised, we will be giving the district a check for $540,000. And if you want, I can tell you what that will cover. And then we can talk about how we want to maybe do these work sessions moving forward, because I think they should be prior. So what would happen is I would then, before the end of May, talk about what our next fundraising year would look like, right? And I think that's maybe when our work sessions should be, so we can make sure our priorities are aligned and we can talk about anything new that might be coming up. And that would be probably a more productive work session.
So why don't we just have a brief update, call this a brief update, and then meet more formally at the end of May?
Perfect. That would be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Okay.
Dave, did you want to add anything to her comments?
No, we just, simply just want to thank Cynthia and AEF for all the phenomenal work that they've been doing all year. It's been, everyone's referenced what a tough year this has been. And, we're certainly not out of the woods yet, but, AEF has been a huge help. I don't think I know of any school district that has said to, individual teachers, tell us what you need. And AEF did and stepped right up and really was a huge help to even get the ball rolling. So Cynthia, I want to thank you and all your work and all the support from all of the AEF folks.
Thank you.
If there's been a bright spot, you've been part of it. So thanks.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you, Dave.
And if I can just add on, thank you also so much for support of the bond issue. and the marketing for that. That was huge and a great pivot on your part, because I know it was maybe not originally exactly contemplated based on however we didn't plan well enough for this year, not knowing that we'd have a pandemic. So thank you so much for that. It's been really great to be able to make adjustments.
And can I ask that whether between our superintendent and you and having the meetings, given that we have some academic real weaknesses in the last number of years, I just wanted to understand if when our kids, for example, the third graders, scores were below the state average for reading. I just wanted to understand if when we see priorities like that, Dave, are you comfortable asking for more teacher coaching and professional development? And is that the sort of thing when we have emergencies or crises of academics, when 41% of our kids are not completing college in the 6th year, those who go to college, 41% of them are not completing college. To me, since that's also below the state target, it seems like that's an emergency. Either too many people are going to college, or they're going to the wrong colleges, or they're not prepared. I just want to know, when we have these academic weaknesses that are so glaring, whether the superintendent and AEF feel comfortable targeting academic weaknesses as the #1 priority, and maybe leaving some of the fluff that we all love for another year, if it's a choice between teacher coaching training and professional development, or another airplane or something like that. I just wanted to know, just so our community doesn't laugh at us, your kids, third graders, can't read and you're getting another airplane, little things like that. I know AEF is not really involved in the aeronautics, but I'm just using that as an example. Can we move our academic weaknesses to a #1 priority with, if it's our #1 priority, can we convey that and use the strength and the power of AEF to help us fix that huge weakness we have?
Dave, do you want me to speak to that, or do you want, yeah? So absolutely. I mean, our priority is to elevate the educational experience through programming, through, the academics in the school. So we are not comfortable having a school that's not performing either. So we want to be able to support the district and the students and our teachers with whatever programs and trainings you all decide are the priority of the district. But so, for example, right now, we fund for IB teacher training every year, right? Which I know is only in part of the high school, but there's been conversation about rolling that out through starting in kindergarten. That is a very interesting program to us if it's what the board decides, right? And the teachers decide is a good way to move forward for the district in terms of academics. We give $60,000 a year for academic support right now. And that's used in different ways. Different superintendents in the past have used it in different ways, but we've always given $60,000 for that. We put $70,000 towards STEAM, which is used in whatever, like we raise, I think, for different buckets, and then inside the district, they decide how exactly is that being spent. But as far as if we sit down at the end of this school year and prioritize for the next year's funding, and you all come back and say, wait, we need to add this, whether it's training, or can we talk about a summer program that will bring some of the kids back up to speed? We always want to be part of that. And I think given our place in the community right now, and people trust AEF, we're able to go back out and say, we've funded these programs in the district, but we have an additional need this year. which is to bring kids, like there's been such a slide based on the online learning. And so we want to bring kids back up to speed. And this is the plan for it. And we want to support that. So we're open to any of those kinds of conversations.
Sounds great. Thanks. Dave, can you comment on what she's just said?
Absolutely. And I just kind of want to reinforce it. As priorities evolve and change, Linda and I have sat with Cynthia and we've had phenomenal meetings and we've been able to map out, the priorities for the year. And as COVID continues to unfold, AEF has been willing to pivot and they've been willing to support. We're exploring testing because the state pulled our testing out from underneath us and we're trying to find a good solution. And Cynthia was able to step in and say, yeah, we can help support if you have to pay for testing, right? Because we know it's really, really important to our staff and community. And we heard that tonight, and we've heard it almost since, August 1st. Testing's important to us. And Cynthia's been able to step into the breach again and say, yeah, we're here, we can help and we can support. So from an academic perspective, as things are unfolding, we've talked about, IB would be a good ask for AEF. It would make some sense if the board and the administration and the teachers decide to go down that path. We haven't quite gotten to that point yet, but we're getting there. So yeah, we're very comfortable, strong working relationship. The focus is increasingly on academic success of, our younger kids. Obviously we're going to be doing remediation work over the next year, including during the summer. And we're working on a plan. Linda's working on just what kind of CARES money we're going to get in the second wave, as it were. And then that helps us inform our ask with AEF. So there's a lot of moving parts to it, Susie, and to the community, but great partners and incredibly nimble and flexible, and looking forward to working with AEF in the years ahead around addressing the needs of the district. I do, think it important to point out that learning to fly an airplane really isn't fluff. It's really important. And that's a huge path and going to be a massive career path coming forward as the boomers are starting to retire from that. They're going to be losing thousands of pilots a day to retirement. So this is a really great career opportunity. Aspen has one of the few high school flight programs. I know AEF has supported it in the past. It's not in next year's budget. And that's a separate organization that raises that money for those airplanes. School district doesn't own an airplane. I wouldn't even know where to find the keys and they wouldn't tell me where they are to them anyway. So, but that's a very important and separate organization that is supporting that work, and a very dynamic, great group of people. So, but back to AEF, our focus on the basics, really making sure that kids are getting the support they need. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the superintendent's update in a little bit. But, again, just want to really thank Cynthia and AEF for all that they've been doing in supporting academics at all the different levels.
Great. Thank you. Any other board members want to comment? Yeah. Dwayne?
I'll be brief, Susan. You can follow right in. I'm sure the rest of the board would agree with this. AEF has been I want to underscore that comment about flexibility. I've been on the AEF board as just an ex officio for like 4.5 years, and flexibility and nimbleness has been one of their hallmarks for sure. And sometimes you think about how you can become better, in the role that you're in, and sometimes it's just being associated with organizations that are, moving from good to great. And so I feel like my role as a board member has been enhanced and improved, and my performance has been improved by liaisoning with a group of community members. And there's a cross section across the entire community that represents AEF. We're so fortunate, if you think about it. I think we're well over 25, going on 30 years, perhaps. I might have that number wrong, of having that foundation. But most importantly, it helps our kids and it helps the entire organization in the community be better. And that's where they are right now. It's just an amazing combined effort. And we've got great leadership in Cynthia and Michelle. And think about Aspen Family Connections and how that partnership has now been organized between AEF and Catherine and her group. There's so many important causes that that agency is able to, extend for us. And no one can argue that any of those pieces and parts are not equally important when you consider the composition of the whole child. And so, I can't say enough for AEF and that board and then how they extend into the community and kind of just make the district more integral for the community. So bravo. And it's just like, you guys are kicking some major rear end. And like I said, I'm honored to be part of that. It's the same feeling that I get when I'm with, my wife as a school teacher. It's like they make us better, and you guys are doing that for us.
Oh,
Well
thank
done.
you. Thank you very much, Dwayne. I'd like to just say something to that and then quickly give you the summary of what AEF is doing for the 21-22 school year. But I would say we have an incredible board, and that, along with Michelle, us working together, it's a really incredible group who really, really cares. And I think what's happened is AEF, after kind of defining this is exactly what we do, which we've done for the last 3 years, instead of just giving a check to the district to just do whatever with, we've kind of reversed that. We talked to the district and we put very specifically out into the community, this is what we fund. And so people believe in that and have come to really rely on us as a voice. I talk to people in other arts organizations as it relates to the district. I talk to somebody in the city offices as it relates to the school district. And like, our connections throughout the community have grown so much that it gives us a different view of how we can help the district and help our students and help our teachers. And I think that feels like a really good place to be. So we're excited about the next couple of years. We are thrilled about our position in the community and with the school district, and feel really grateful to be able to help. So with that, for the 21-22 school year, which we've already raised the money for, we're funding $100,000 to Aspen Family Connections, which we have seen is just vital to the health of our students. I think everybody would agree when they see what Catherine Sand and her team have done. It's just, it is without question that we want to support them. We also think it is very important for our students to have supporting the whole child so they can be more successful in the school environment. So we're supporting Aspen Family Connections. We're funding for a second middle school counselor, which we think that mental health component is critical. We're funding a full position in college counseling. Again, addressing actually post-secondary counseling, the support of every student in the high school and what is their plan afterwards. We're thrilled with what Karen and Suzanne and Charlie are doing. We have $60,000 going toward IB teacher training next year to train the teachers in that program. And if all of a sudden, if we get approved to do K through 12 IB, and that requires more money, we will go out right away and fundraise for that. So if that's needed in the 21-22 school year, we can go out and make that happen. And if that's the program that we decide to use. We give $75,000 every year to outdoor ed for scholarships, teacher training, certifications. Because outdoor ed didn't happen this year, Linda and I have talked about this, the money from last year will roll over into the next year. So we've been able to redirect some money to COVID, which Dave was talking about, whether it's the support person, whether it's additional testing, because we know how important that is to the teachers and to our families. We have $100,000 allotted toward that. And then we have $60,000 allotted toward academic intervention and support. That is what we have fundraised for the 21-22 school year. we will continue working through the end of our fiscal year, which lines up with the end of the school year. So if things come up, summer programs, like I just mentioned for the academic slide, a bigger dive into IB, whatever that might be, you should come to us and we'll put that out and work on that for the community. So that's where we are. Any questions?
No, I just have one quick comment and just Cynthia, thank you so much, because I will reiterate that you and your board have really put AEF in a whole different level of support for our district. It's amazing. And
thanks.
You kind of put them on a task and they go for it, which is really exciting to see.
Thank you.
But I just want to reiterate, because I feel like, even our board president is a little unclear about the process by which our district funding priorities go through. And I think that's important, because it shouldn't sound frivolous and it shouldn't sound like fluff. It's all very important, and it goes through what I see as the process is basically the board goes through the year telling the superintendent, these are our priorities. These are the things that we want our school district to work on. And then the superintendent meets with Cynthia and goes through, here are things that we feel are important. How can you help us? And in what areas? And so it's all based on the important things that our board and our administration feel like could really use some funding. So I just wanted to clarify and also just express our appreciation. Thanks, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Cynthia.
I would say one last thing to it. We also this past year we had some really nice gifts to a robotics endowment. This just kind of piggybacks off of what you just said, Susan. There are some programs that we really believe are beneficial to our students, that should there be greater cuts in funding or the school district isn't able to support them, we are trying to build different endowments that those programs will always be there, because we think they're that important. And so some of that, we're well on our way to completing this robotics endowment so that our kids always will have that. There's some things that our district offers that I think our community believes in, our students are passionate about them. And they seem they seem like things that should always be there, that should be sustained. So we are working on endowments on some of those programs too.
Go ahead, Katie. Thank you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to point out, I think we've mentioned this before, but one of the things that the FAB has been tasked with is the budgeting process and the schedule behind it that obviously relates all into priorities and what the superintendent's priorities are. And there are a couple of AEF members on the financial advisory board. So I just wanted to point out that we are working on trying to, I won't say change the process, but trying to make it more efficient in terms of timing so that it corresponds to the school district's budgeting process as well. And that, it's not something that's done yet. We're still working on that, but we'll continue to work forward. And, hopefully by this time next year, we'll have it down in terms of what the expectations are for when all this stuff will happen and when these discussions need to happen in order to have the most efficient budgeting process based on state mandated deadlines that Linda has to meet.
Right.
So I just wanted to point that out. We're working together, but I wanted everyone to know that we're working together on that from a timing perspective.
Thank you.
Jonathan, any questions, comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to say congratulations for the creativity and the persistence and the tenacity and going out and raising funds again this year in a very difficult situation. And,
Right.
virtual, I wasn't able to attend, unfortunately, because I was not in town, but having a virtual fundraiser and getting that kind of support from the community is definitely reflective of the great job that you guys do and the community support you rallied. So just thank you to you and all your board, and also thanks to the community for putting up the money and having another great year of funding for that, even given the difficult circumstances and being in the middle of a pandemic.
Right,
So that was
right.
it.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you. It was challenging. Thank you.
So let's plan end of May is a good time.
End of, yes, end of May is great, or end of May, June. I can email with Eliza and plan a time. Great. Okay,
That
perfect.
sounds great. That sounds really smart.
And
Let's do
include
that.
Linda, so she needs to know when she needs to have the budget stuff done in terms of timing.
Great.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Yeah.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Thank you.
So let's move on to discussion item 6.1 with AEA. 15-minute. Stephanie, should we turn to Stephanie?
Hi. I do not need 15 minutes, but thank you.
Great.
Sideways.
I appreciate that so much. On a personal note, I just wanted to say thanks to Katie for reaching out to me this week. I think that I've learned a lot in the last 2 weeks, and what's been really invaluable for me, and this is on a total personal note, is that I've learned a lot to listen. And I think that was my goal becoming the union president, was to listen to people and to listen to everyone. And I think that I found it very valuable for her to reach out to me this week. And I think that we are moving in a good direction. And I just really appreciate that. And I think that hopefully it's going to help me become a better leader as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're muted.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. For some reason, the AEA update is sideways in the board docs. I don't know why. So I'm going to share my screen with a right side up one. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Here's the AEA update. So we did a survey from January 12th to the 17th with our members. We do surveys frequently. It's really the only way we can really gauge any data. And of course, we love to go by data. We don't really like to make assumptions on where everybody is feeling and how they're gauging. So we really want to conduct surveys. So the results are pretty mixed emotions on a variety of subjects, as you can all guess. There were some significant concerns. Universally, I think it just comes down to just still that sort of climate and culture piece that you all have been working on for the past couple of years. So we all do not like being pitted against each other at all. It is not the goal. It is not where we want to be. And like I said, I do think we are moving in a really good direction, but that is not where we want to be. And that's something I think we can all agree on. Teacher retention, like Serena was talking about in her public comment, it is a significant concern for us too. We know that attracting and retaining teachers is critical. It's going to be challenging pre-COVID, post-COVID. Well, it was challenging pre-COVID. It's going to be even more challenging, hopefully, I can say post-COVID. The passage of the bond shows the community supports retaining high quality staff members, and our survey is going to show a large number, about 25% of our respondents are considering or planning to leave the district after the school year. While the reasons are varied, the primary concerns relate to morale. And so I know that this is going to be, and we've talked about this a little bit off record, is that I know it's probably going to be consistent with national data. It's just, we really want to keep high rigor, high academic programs in the Aspen School District. And having just people standing in the classroom is really not our goal. We want to attract and retain good quality teachers. And I think it's a little concerning on the survey. We just don't want to lose a lot of faculty or staff members.
Stephanie, you compared that to national data. How does it compare to past years here?
Ooh, I don't know. That's a good one. Let's look that up.
Okay.
I haven't compared it to any other data. This is just the data we have, but I do think that is worth looking at, of course. Right now it's, you know, and again, this is only out of the AEA members. There was 103 responses, 52%, yes, I'm planning to stay in my current role. 19.4% of the responders indicate they're going to leave the district. 26.2 people who responded are unsure. We could lose over 50 staff members. So again, it's not the entire population that we surveyed, just AEA. When you talk about reasons they're leaving or they're planning on leaving, they're either, you know, not content with the work environment, which again, of course, like Serena was saying, not a lot of us are content with any job right now at all. But the things that are really disheartening to us are things like discontentment of ASD policies and discontentment with, you know, administration. And so we kind of want to take a deeper dive into this survey to see how we can better attract and retain teachers and staff. This is also staff. So teacher morale and stress is clearly a huge factor in burnout and turnover. There's a link I've included, it's from Penn State. Again, when we're functioning in a trauma state, we're not effective. And if we're not effective, we're not delivering instruction to students correctly, or we're not driving a bus, you know, with a clear head, or we're not working in the preschool as effectively. Our jobs are sort of compromised when our morale is compromised. So what the big thing that AEA has been working on has been morale and letting teachers know that they are supported and what can we do to make you feel safe? And what can we do to kind of have you operate at not a trauma level, right? Like trauma informed. So we're just really requesting, the survey data is pretty long and the comments are varied. And so we would really love to discuss it with the board in either a work session, or it can be closed or open. I just didn't want to discuss the survey in this public forum, but I really, really want to share the data with the board and the upper admin so they can see what our teachers are at and what they're thinking and how we can problem solve, you know, our teachers and faculty, where we can problem solve, what we can do to get our rigor, to get our academics back, to get our kids back, you know, in-person learning with good, solid, healthy teachers. And so that's kind of the goal. So we really like some time that's not in a public forum to go over the survey data and the comments so that we can problem solve together. Like I said, I think we've come a long way and I think that we can do this. I didn't want to go over, like I said, a lot of the data in this forum. So this is in the board docs, but it's sideways. I apologize. So, oops, Chair.
Thank you, Stephanie. I have another quick question about the percent, the numbers. Do you know what percentage 103 is? Is that about 60% of your teachers? The 103?
We have 176 members, but you have to remember that they're classified as well. So it's classified and certified together. Ooh, sorry, my phone was really loud just then. So that's about, we have, like I said, about 175 and about 100 people answered in varied positions.
So that's about maybe less than 60%.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm doing some math. Anybody else?
I'm an art
I was just trying to
thanks. Percentages, you know.
Think about the best way for us to have a work session. And
we usually typically have work sessions, you know, before we go and move into negotiations anyway. So right. I think, don't we? So, you know, that could be a good thing to tackle and tear about and you know, really do a deep dive on that data, because I do think there are some things there that we can use for all of us to get better at, you know, us included. The survey data is very telling in terms of what we can all do better.
Right. And that's I would love to, you know, figure out what are some things that we could do differently. And what I was thinking is that if we wanted to do a work session with the entire board that is not a public meeting, then that would need to fall under some sort of an executive session category, which is, I mean, negotiations do, but some of the other broader things might not. And so we could maybe do a work session prior to negotiation with just a couple of board members and then kind of work on some things that way. And then also in negotiations,
That'd be
I
great.
guess.
Susan, are you referring to the subsequent, when you
I-
say negotiations,
IBS process.
yeah,
Yeah.
the process that is often pursued or applied when negotiating, if you will, and setting compensation models and other policies around benefits and other payment structures between the
Right.
district and the cadre of teachers, and frankly all staff. Okay.
Yep.
I follow that better now.
Sorry.
I don't advocate, however, I don't think this is private or executive stuff. I think I understand, Stephanie, you're not necessarily trying to keep it private. I appreciate, we've worked a lot together over the years and had quote unquote, just open work sessions, but
Yes.
they're truly roll up your sleeves and have some, just some less formal opportunities to discuss the issues and try to find better conversations that lead to better, solutions for pieces and parts of the organization. So I think we can do that openly in a regular announce with all the board and have it be a public meeting and have it, the conversation that we're having is obviously a conversation that's occurring out on the street and in the community. And we want to, I think, be open and reflective of all of that and not close the door per se. And again, I don't think you're advising or suggesting that it's be completely hush hush. It's just, it's just.
I don't want them taken out of context, right?
Yeah,
and I also don't want them in this particular forum.
Yeah, right. This is a business meeting. We can set up a work session, however, that's dedicated for a couple hours and maybe a series of couple hours is my guess. Yes, so thank you. And Susie or Susan, or maybe Eliza, who is our designated two board representatives when it gets to the IDS, the platform of negotiations? Susan, are you in there?
I believe am I? I don't know.
Eliza
Susie,
knows.
I think Susie is because she's board president. We put her on there. And then I don't know who the other person, I can't remember.
I think it's Susie and Susie.
I'll take a look.
So if I could just suggest, Stephanie, I think it's a great idea. I agree with Dwayne that I think it might be best as a special meeting, special work session. So we don't get caught up in all the action items and consent agenda, all the other stuff that we are legally mandated to have to go through. And we just have a meeting that's a public meeting, but on a different day than a regular board meeting to talk through everything.
Sure. Let's do it.
And let's do it soon, because I think having teachers feel supported and happy and us all working out the kinks, that would go a long way.
I agree.
Sure.
So like by the end of March.
Sure.
Right.
Or sooner.
Yeah, sooner.
Right.
Sooner. It's
Or
good with me.
sooner. Yeah. Great. Anything else? Jonathan, Dave, anybody else?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Stephanie, it's obvious that AEA, and I don't know how many that this encompasses, and definitely the comments at the beginning of the meeting reflected there was some serious discontentment with the way they perceived the comments Katie had made in the last meeting. I mean, going forward and understanding kind of, how this can be handled better on both sides of the table. I mean, there was an issue there that we needed to, kind of bring up and have a discussion about in terms of just what's the best way to keep the schools open for the kids and learning, and some of the reasons they had been closed. And it's not about blaming people, it's about how do we get things moving in the right direction and keep the schools open and safe and all those things that we've been having dialogue about ongoing. So I just want to know, how do we continue to have an open dialogue around things we need to work on together to make sure that, the staff is safe, the kids are learning, all these kinds of things as we move forward. What can we learn from this experience to maybe, if we had to take another crack at it, what would we change? And or, how can we either modulate that different, and then how can we also figure out ways to maybe have the reaction be something that we sit down and discuss, maybe as opposed to some of the other actions that were the way that it went in a different way. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that, us meeting together in board retreats or work sessions, or, the board retreats, I know people always counted on to get to a lot of you. They were always very popular, and they always, really loved to sit and talk to you all. I think if we could find a way to just schedule more time where even, teachers and faculty can meet with you all, not even through us, just, in more of a forum, I think scheduling a work session is a great start. And the survey has way more on it than just retention. It has a lot about safety. It has a lot about some vaccination data. It has some others too that I think we should sit down and look at. That's going to be really, really helpful for us moving forward. So I definitely think us, and like I said, I think Katie reaching out in the last, 2 weeks, and us, literally sitting down and really listening to each other was really, really helpful. And I think if we continue that moving forward, like I said, I think we're going to get into a better place. And I mean, I don't know how to have more opportunities for people to sit down face to face. We did it. We were outside while I was screaming at the high school children on the lawn, but they were fine. It was fine.
They were very happy, actually. It was great to see them. Yeah.
They were very happy. They didn't want to come back inside, So yeah, I think scheduling more opportunities like that, it would be very beneficial for both sides.
Because I'm just, I think all of board members, and I'm going to include myself in here, and maybe I'm not going to, I won't say everybody did this, but I know I've done it, in terms of asking everybody in previous meetings to please follow the protocols, please wash your hands, please make sure we're doing everything we can, both parents, students, teachers, kids, everybody. We've said, please do everything you can to make sure that we get, keep the kids in school and can stay open. I mean, that's been a pretty consistent message I think we've all had for quite some time now. And for some reason, this particular time, it got everybody way more excited than it did in previous occasions. So I guess just maybe my reflection would be, if this thing gets to boiling points like this again, then probably the best course of action, and the one that I would ask you and AEA to take, is to look us up, because I'm not perfect, and I'm not going to always express myself in the perfect manner, and my words could be misinterpreted or whatever. But I think the best thing to do is call me and ask me about it, and go straight to the source and say, hey, Jonathan, we really don't understand this, or we really don't agree with the way you phrased this, said this, whatever. And I think that will help also, just as we continue to have to work through this together, move forward. Because I think, like I said in my opening comment, the issue is not going away, in terms of that we all need to follow protocols and do our best to do that, and without blaming anybody necessarily. I don't think that's anybody's intent. It's how we have that open dialogue so that we all can make our schools safer, keep them open as long as possible, give our kids the best education possible, keep our staff safe, all of those things. So maybe that would just kind of be my reflection on that. And then, and when I looked at the information on your survey, just one thing I would like to say to all the teachers and especially, you know, just kind of the general environment here. I mean, I know it's tough and it's not easy to be working in this, like you said, but I think if you reflect on the Aspen School District and obviously the people on this board, we're all here dedicated and we're doing this out of, you know, because we think it's right and because we think we can make an impact. And, you know, we're all working hard for those same things that the teachers have in mind. And to also make sure that, you know, we have a good climate, that we're addressing the needs of the teachers by giving them better salaries and employee housing. You know, we're proactively going out to do those things. And so, you know, it feels, you know, we have to fix it. I'm not blaming anybody here, so we get that clear. We have to fix the fact that that's not getting through and being a clear message in terms of the fact that we do care about very much both the work environment and the quality of education in the Aspen School District. So, you know, I think that comes through definitely in the dedication that we put into this and all those things. So we might not always agree on everything, but I think definitely if you're looking at a teaching position where the amount of community support and parent involvement, and you know, we just heard from Cynthia and AEF and the special things that we're able to provide to both our students and our staff. You know, this is and the fact that we're in Aspen, you know, it's kind of a great place to be. So I know it's tough right now. I'm not minimizing anything of all that's going on and all that we're all suffering through here together and the challenges that it presents to everybody. But I would ask that everybody kind of reflect, you know, we're in a tough spot, but the future is pretty darn bright, at least from my perspective, in terms of all that we have going for us in terms of, you know, the parents we have, the financial resources that we have that we don't have in other places, the beautiful spot we live, the kids. I mean, there's just a great combination of things, and especially our staff and teachers, that make this a great place to be. So, you know, I know it's tough now, and but when I went through your presentation, you know, I have to admit I was a little saddened by that. But I would just ask everybody, you know, take a deep breath. Remember that, you know, we're in this for the long haul, and that I think we all have a shared vision about how great this district can be. And we just need to work on that together. So no more soapbox.
Thank you, Jonathan. Dave, did you have any comments or Stephanie, any final remarks? Dave, let's go to Dave first.
No, I just want to thank Stephanie and AEA for their leadership and their conversation over the last couple of weeks. And, you know, to Jonathan's point, you know, some of the stuff is really hard to hear and it, you know, but then, you know, I think about some of the other conversations that we are having, and, you know, this is a time of high tension and high stress. And to earlier points, if all of us, and I know there's been a lot of sort of cognitive coaching work done in this district, and, you know, if we can tap into some of that and really start thinking and really breathing a little deeper and, you know, really to Susie's earlier, the points that she opened with, you know, if we can all pull together in this direction, you know, we can finish this year strong and, you know, be better off for it. This is a great district, and, you know, it's a great place to be. And it's, you know, to the earlier point that the teachers made, this has been, you know, not only one of the toughest weeks here in Aspen, it's been one of the toughest years in my career. And, you know, this last week or two has been, you know, sort of the ribbon on a really tough package. So we're all in it together. We're all feeling the stress. You know, we're all burning weekends and nights and doing the best we can. And, you know, and sometimes it's not as good as we would like it to be, but we do appreciate the comments, and we do appreciate Stephanie and AEA's leadership. And I'm looking forward to working with you folks on this.
Great.
Thank you. And thank you all for your continued work on vaccinations and testing. It's really, really important. I didn't want to comment on it with the AEA update, but I'll just comment on it quick. Thank you so much. Dave and I got to meet with Governor Polis separately, but sort of together as we were furiously texting each other as we were on the call with Governor Polis. So it was actually kind of entertaining. We were like, he's on now, I'm on now, we're on now, he's gonna, oh my gosh. So it was kind of funny. So anyway, that was a great experience. So, thanks for your continued work with really trying to get us vaccinated and get us tested. We really, really appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Excellent. Shall we move on to bond update 6.2 then? Thank you, Stephanie, so much. Dave?
Yeah, because I have to do the superintendent's update. Linda's going to take the bond update. There's like 3 big buckets to talk about. So I'm going to kick it over to Linda right now.
All right,
Yeah.
Linda, you have 10 minutes.
Yeah, I can do it. I got to tell you all, when Dave asked me if I would do the bond update, I was like all over it, because for one time I get to say good news, and I never get to say good news. We found out last week that our bonds have been increased in the rating. We had a superior rating of a AAA rating on our bonds. So the SEC came up with a new rule, and the bond rating organization revamped school districts' bond ratings, and we got to jump up. And our bond council said not many schools can boost about a AAA rating. So I was really excited to share that information with you all. So, and then next piece that we have going on with the bond is we had 9 responses back to our owner's rep RFP, and we met last week. Gosh, seems like it's been longer than a week, but anyway, we met last week and we were able to narrow that down to 4. So this week on Thursday, we have pretty much an all-day ordeal meeting with the 4 remaining candidates for this, and it's exciting. We have some great candidates in there. I think we're gonna be able to make a really good decision. And then the last piece of it, I just wanted to let you know, because I think a few people have asked me about this. We have got the ball rolling with Dan O'Connell on the first issuance of our bond, and I pulled his timetable up, and it looks like his timetable is April 21st is to close the bond issue and deliver the funds. So things are going to start on February 5th. They're going to fill out, they're going to send a questionnaire out to the school district that we'll have to start completing our paperwork, and we'll have to have that back by February 19th. So, and then the POS statement starts to happen, and that just takes some time. But I'm, more than happy to share this with you all if you would like to see it. If not, just know that it is our timetable and it's our draft, and we're moving things forward. So that's my quick update.
Great, thank you. Can we move on to superintendent update? Yeah, great. Dave?
We can, and Eliza's going to drive the slideshow again. We have to stick with some traditions. So here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. All right. So a lot going on. And of course, today is the first day of Black History Month. I can vouch for the fact that this district works and focuses and is increasing its focus on this so that it's not just a month. I got to sit in a really nifty class last week, and clearly they were working on issues around equity and social justice. And, it's neat to see that it's going on not just in one month. So, Aspen High School's, focusing on Black History Month and resiliency and crew, which is a pretty neat course they're running this year. AMS is working on this. The teachers are utilizing poetry and fiction. I won't read everything to you, but this is on the website. or will be. Aspen Elementary, of course, is doing a lot of great work around this at each grade level. Reading some of the traditional texts in kindergarten, discussing prominent African Americans in first grade, second grade's exploring literature, third grade working on research papers, timelines, and museums, which is fantastic. And then, fourth grade leveraging a number of different resources to study Black History Month. So we're going to be focusing on this month, and then the equity team, of course, is continuing to work on this on a larger scale. So next slide, please. We've talked a lot about stress, in sort of the workplace and from the adult perspective, but we also know many of our students are really suffering this year, and don't want to dwell on some recent student issues, but we're very aware of some recent student issues. And so I just want to post to all of our community and to all of our families and to all the teachers and administrators on here to really be aware that our students are struggling. There's many, many resources available. Aspen Family Connections, of course, was mentioned earlier. What a phenomenal resource to have in a district this size, and that's something I've dreamed about in other districts. I know the high school is running community workshops. Mind Springs is a new partnership that we have going this year, and they're sort of a local mental health resource. Your school counselors and your principals, for our family members that are watching, are your first resource, your first touchstone. But above all, just reach out if you see your kids having some troubles. We're here for them. We've got access to a wealth of professionals, and we want to be there to help. This COVID-19, if you think about it, many of our students have been in a very relatively isolated environment for a very long time, and they've lost the structures and routines that so many of us rely on. And mental health is a definite issue at this point in time. So please reach out to us. We're here to help, and we're going to finish strong together. So I did want to talk a little bit more about the governor's announcement this past week. Stephanie referenced it. I wasn't actually going to jump on the call until she started blowing my phone up, and so promptly jumped on there. And the state is reprioritizing how they want vaccinations to be distributed, within our county, and they're targeting it towards work sites. So whether you live in Garfield, Eagle, or Pickens County, they're kind of targeting it towards the work site. So for our staff, we hope to be offering vaccinations soon. There's about 580 educators in our county, working in our county, if you count the preschools and substitute teachers and everybody else. There is a huge stumbling block to February 8th, and it's just the supply chains are they're not delivering the dosages. And that's going to be our biggest stumbling block to getting people vaccinated, educators vaccinated in a timely manner. Obviously, if you want to get the economy going, you want to get everybody, you want shots in the arms of everybody servicing our kids in the county. And that's going to be one of the biggest wins in the fight against COVID. But I just want to manage expectations a little bit. The county's only been getting about 100 to 200 doses per week. And even, if we can get 200 doses per week, and we only get a third of those for teachers, it's still going to take a while to get everybody fully inoculated. And it's a process, right? So it's about 6 weeks from the first jab. So, fingers crossed for J&J. Let's get that single shot out there, and let's boost the supply. So anyway, we are excited about that. And we do appreciate the governor recognizing the importance of education to the quality of life here in Colorado. I know many states aren't taking quite as wise a stance. Liza, next slide, please. Academic update. As many of you know, grades 7 through 12 have returned to in-person learning. We're using the new seating chart protocols and quarantining protocols for grades 7 through 12. Pickens County Health agreed to go with reducing, following the CDC guidance around quarantine length. And so we're down to 10 days for quarantines. It was really neat. I got to cover a couple of French classes today, so my knowledge of French has expanded exponentially. And that was great fun. Many of the administrators are in classrooms this week just because we still have folks being placed on quarantines. But the students that I saw and got to meet today were doing a great job and maintaining social distance. And, obviously we can work on getting better. And sometimes we have to remind our students about that. But they're really positive and great fun to have back on campus.
Dave, I thought the CDC said we could go to 7-day quarantines.
So Susie, you're right. If we can support that with a rapid test on day 7, they say day 5 in the CDC guidance. Pickens County Health said day 7, but at this point in time, we don't have the rapid tests. And so we're in the 10-day quarantines. We're trying to get the rapid testing. The state is guaranteed 4 weeks of rapid testing for every staff member who signs up for it. For all the staff members on here, I want to remind them that our new COVID coordinator, Megan Ziegler, did send out an email today. We need you to sign up to get those tests, and they'll be mailed directly to your homes. So say a teacher gets quarantined on day 7, in theory, they could do the rapid test with telehealth monitoring it, and then they would be allowed to return on day 8 as opposed to returning on day 11. So those pieces of the puzzle aren't quite in place just yet. We're trying to get those in place and about as fast as we can. But at this point in time, we need some of the staff to respond to the survey so we can provide their names and addresses to the state for shipping of the Abbott Binax Now home test kit. And so that's where we are with that.
Thank you.
Sure. At this point in time, even though Mrs. Frisch started and sparked a really good conversation around spring break, we're not predicting it at this point. There hasn't been a lot of interest in it. We are working on launching a travel affidavit. This is something a couple of other states have in place. And I talked with legal counsel again this morning, and because Pickens County has a travel affidavit, we could base our travel affidavit off of that travel affidavit. So if a staff member, if students and families are traveling over spring break, we'll have that in place, and we're going to ask folks who are out of the state for spring break to consider self-quarantining or getting a negative test upon their return. So we haven't quite fully fleshed it out or reviewed it. I do want to thank Elise Dreher for the early morning call that really poked me this morning. I was chewing on it, and then she's like, well, look, can you do something about this? And I said, I think we can. And so this is what we're looking at. Of course, we are going to consider the remote week for the week after, like we did after Thanksgiving. We didn't get many positives, but we really do need, once we get our testing ramped back up, and we're going to talk about testing in a minute, we do need everybody to participate. It helps. And again, no harm, no foul, no judgment. We'd just like every staff member, every student to test if at all possible. And then this is the box it out strategy. We'll talk more about this in a second. But so that's what we're looking at around the spring break conversation as far as that goes. So next slide, please. Yes, we are continuing to work on testing, like I've been talking about. We did do Microgen DX last week. We had 105 staff members pilot it. and we had 105 negative tests come back. So we're very grateful for all you folks who took a moment to go spit in the cup. Thank you. We appreciate that. We do have a new COVID testing protocol coming out tomorrow through the support and help of our testing team and Vail Health. And Vail Health will be on site Wednesday morning. And we're going to be testing 7th through 12th grade and all staff, teachers, support staff, bus drivers, cafeteria, facilities. We'd love it all if you could get tested, and we'll get you, we are told that we'll be able to have results within 12 hours of administering the test. So, as I said, we're trying a new protocol this week, and we're really hoping for high level of participation as part of the Box It In strategy. So as is the tradition, some word from the schools. We'll start with Mr. Bastian and Aspen Elementary School.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Good afternoon, everybody. Just want to give you a brief update on happenings here at the elementary school. So we've completed 436 DIBELS reading benchmarks and our testing or STAR testing for grades 1 through 4. And we're in the process of disaggregating that data to see what it teaches us for next steps in the classroom. Last week, we had 4 teachers and 28 students quarantined. We expect to have everyone back tomorrow, so we're excited about that. When we do have people out, it requires all of us, admin, front office, and anyone to help cover classes. So it's very much a joint effort. We had 98% of the students that we expected to have here on campus here today, and 100% of the teachers that we expected on campus were here today also. And last week we had a successful lockdown drill. This is the first since the onset of COVID. We partnered with Pitkin County Sheriff's Department to make sure that the classrooms were secured in the event of an actual emergency. I always send a letter home to families afterwards, making them aware of it so that if their kids have questions, they're able to hopefully address those questions with their children, because lockdown drills are very anxiety provoking, both for kids and for adults. So I was very happy with the way the rooms looked as I walked the building with the Pitkin County Sheriff. We've completed 457 report cards as of today for our students and their families. And we're looking forward to some professional development this week from the folks at Amplify. Their product is DIBELS. And I took some of the training last week, and there's just some great things within DIBELS that I don't think we're utilizing that help us dig a little bit deeper and make our instruction a little bit more targeted. So that's the update from the elementary school, Dave.
Thanks, Chris. Great update, and I appreciate the focus on the academics, and I appreciate the flexibility of everybody at Aspen Elementary. I know it's been really hard, and see the emails as we're scrambling to cover this, that, and the other thing, but we do appreciate it, and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Hear, hear. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
And team.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Mader?
Yes, good evening. The middle school welcomed our 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students into the building this morning. So it was a big feat to have everyone there, lots of work involved to have all of our safety protocols in place. About 30% of our families have chosen to be remote learners for the 3rd quarter. Grades 7 and 8 will be allowed to attend their exploration classes using this targeted quarantine model. But Spanish classes will be remote for all grades. It's one of the areas that we're still looking for qualified subs for the 2 teachers. Grades 5 and 6 will continue to be in one class with some subjects taught remotely. We have reconfigured our lunchtime. A new schedule will stagger lunchtime over 2 periods so that we can spread kids out we had a meeting with Pitkin County Health, and they recommended or required that lunch social distancing be 12 feet. So we'll have half of our kids in the gym and half in the cafeteria, one grade level at a time. And this will allow students to spread out more during lunch and recess. The staff meeting this week will focus on the middle year's IB program, and Eileen, Knapp, and Theron have arranged for a guest speaker to come in and help our teachers better understand what the middle year's program looks like. Our teachers will be reviewing the UIP, the Uniform Improvement Goal or Plan, this week. And Jason Thomas will be leading that conversation. Unfortunately, our librarian has resigned. So we've developed a plan to have the library open 4 mornings a week. And this will be assisted by our regular sub, Tanya Kuhn. And I just wanted to close with recognizing that several of our staff members have lost parents, grandparents, relatives, and friends to COVID. Our hearts go out to them, as well as to our teachers that have struggled with COVID themselves. We're fortunate with the middle school. It's a very tight-knit community, and a sunshine committee was formed of teachers that have been sending kudo boards to staff who have suffered such devastating loss. And it's a very much appreciated effort as the teams and teachers and staff all show their support to one another. Thank you.
Liz, I just have a question about the UIP is for the whole district, isn't it? And the SIP is for the school improvement plan. And I was wondering if there are arrangements for the SAC to give their input on the SIP.
Lots of acronyms there. Yes, the SAC committee has been informed of the school improvement plan, and that was in our last meeting. So now our teachers will go through some of the gap analysis that Jason has been working on.
Then the 10-foot distancing, is that because they don't stay 6 feet, they move around too much?
It's actually 12 feet, and that allows kids to eat in the lunchroom with their masks off. So it was the mask off portion of eating that required the 12-foot distance. And we managed to figure it out with using the gym. We put X's on the gym floor, spaced by 12 feet. The tables in the cafeteria appear to be about 12 feet, so we could put 2 kids at each table. So we think it's a really safe procedure for them to have lunch.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Liz, and obviously thanks to the team. I know you guys have obviously, this is a big, huge transition year. You and Theron and Justin, you know, and Jason, excuse me, have been trying to do your best, and then obviously the team itself too, right? So it's been a bit of a roller coaster. So appreciate your, you know, your positive spirit there, and obviously as echoed for the team. And it's actually an important comment you made about the, you know, the losses that our team members have had. And it really puts it back into perspective when you think about, you know, family and family loss. So appreciate you bringing that back up. Yeah.
Thanks, Dwayne. Theron, do you want to add anything? I know you've been working hard today teaching classes yourself.
Well, I'll tell you this, I'm very well acquainted. I'm well acquainted with Tuck Everlasting now. I want you guys to know that. We did a lot of literature review today in a 6th grade class. Great esprit de corps. I just want to really commend the middle school staff for coming together and making it work today for, I thought, what was just a spectacularly smooth retransitioning of the school. And I just think the teachers, the support staff, the students, the parents, everybody did just such a great job of making that work this morning. So hats off to the middle school. And just a note about the SIP, UIP, and all of that as well. I might as well throw it out there. We're planning on having Erin Lofton from CDE come in on February 12th. She's she's going to be doing a very long tutorial for all of our building principals on how all that's going to work. And just another commendation for Jason Thomas doing the work with the DAC and Liz. They definitely included and did a great job, I think, presenting what the deep dive is going to look like for the root cause analysis for that. So just know, I think that we're going to have a pretty comprehensive view of that coming forward in the future. And we're going to get trained up and do it the same way this time, Susie. So it's going to be really nice, I think, for you guys to have that kind of a unilateral look at the schools. So we're excited about that. But again, just great job for the middle school staff. Everybody was on board. Everybody covered duties. Everybody did everything they were supposed to do. So very proud of them.
Great, thank you, Theron. Sarah. How'd today go, Sarah?
Today was great. I should say Dr. Baugh taught French. He did it really well. I taught a little math. Becky, I'm not sure what Becky taught, but we were, all hands on deck, but the kids were in good spirits. The teachers were great. So it was a good day. Lunch was a little chaotic, but we'll fix that for tomorrow. Hard to wrangle high schoolers in, but we'll fix that for tomorrow. Again, they were just genuinely glad to be in the building, be with each other. Everyone was really compliant, reminding a couple kids to get the mask over the nose. But other than that, it was really great. I do want to commend all the teachers that spoke and also the board at the beginning. I think focusing on a positive and fruitful dialogue moving forward is the best course of action for all of us. Our kids are listening. I know I get lots of criticism in when I send out a feedback form to parents, but I think we need to take all of our criticism constructively and model for our kids. What a great community we have. And I really want to celebrate the success of my teachers, who, despite having some misgivings about being here and being a little nervous, showed up today and did a great job. And we're excited to have the kids here. We are a little understaffed. We do have people who are out in quarantine, so we do not have the subs to fully cover that. But like I said, we may do, and we'll continue to have some guests from the district. And then I'm always happy to go in and teach classes too. We are starting our registration process. So we'll be having parent nights in the upcoming weeks. We have just vetted our new course proposals to students, the leadership team, and then we'll run the final list by staff on Wednesday. Wednesday, we are also beginning our first work with PEBC in our grade level teams to have data-driven discussions. These will be different than departments. So it'll be STEM and humanities grade level teams looking at data, and then we'll move into equity-minded conversations and implicit bias as well as we start looking at some of the patterns we see in our data. On some great news, Pickens County Health last week approved our athletics to go ahead. So we have hockey full steam ahead, which will be at the Arc, and we will be able to have all of our events here on campus. It's still to be determined. We were supposed to play Vail Mountain School tomorrow, but they're not allowed to play anyone who's in the red. So even though we go to orange at midnight, I don't know if that's enough notice for them, but Martha's trying to convince them we'll be solidly in the orange by tomorrow at game time. So we'll see what happens there. We have all of our STAR data. On Wednesday, I have an SAC meeting. Becky will be presenting our STAR data, which shows growth for everybody, all grade levels in math and reading from the beginning of the year. So that's positive, trending in the right direction. We will then, like Theron said, our next SAC meeting be working on the SIP. We've been looking at data all along, so we'll really get into that root cause piece and take all these data pieces. They're a little piecemeal at the high school because of not having the same testing for the past couple of years due to COVID, but we'll still be able to get some movement there. Let's see, what else do we have going on? We had a lot of great feedback. We gave a systematic review feedback to all of our students and parents. So students filled out the same course reflection for every teacher and every course. which is the first time we've really done that. So that's given us a lot of great feedback, and it was overwhelmingly positive. Of course, the one sort of negative was, yes, how did remote learning go for you? And that's where we saw kids say it was not great for me. But when they talked about the level of engagement, the ability to communicate with their teachers, and the level of instruction, overwhelmingly in the positive. Parents are in the midst of completing that survey now. And actually the data is the same for parents, not as rosy as the students, but still, as they talk about the level of engagement and effective instruction, more positive than negative, which was actually surprising. So in a good way. And I think that's it. We've got a lot more going on, obviously, but we're just happy to have the kids back. And I think they're happy too. Our next hurdle will be, I think, kids were so happy to be back that we're going to start hearing from all of the parents and students who opted for remote learning, that they may want to be in person. So then we're going to have to actually reconsider our learning model, because it is based on that 50% to keep the social distancing. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And I think that's about it.
Sarah, thank you. I just wanted to point out, I saw Sarah at lunch today in the high school, and the kids were the happiest group of kids that I have seen anywhere in a really, really long time. It was wonderful, just wonderful to see. And I can also say from my own experience, I have not seen the expression I saw on my own daughter's face this morning, and the level of excitement to get back to school was just incredible. So, thanks to everyone for making that happen. It was really, really quite remarkable. And then I love the sound of your surveys on the classes, and I wanted to kind of throw that out to the other schools, if that is something that we could do as we're moving forward as well. I think, it's good to hear from parents, and it's good to hear from students on specific items like that, specific classes, to see where we can do better, where we could use some more opportunities for growth, because I think we still have a couple more months of this pandemic left, and possibilities for remote learning here and there, especially it sounds like after spring break. So I think that that's something that would be great to continue to do as we move forward. And hopefully, Sarah, you can provide some leadership from your experience on that.
Sure, we'd be happy to. It was really simple. I have to give kudos to Becky, and all of our staff did it. They were a little anxious, I think. Never before had they had administrators own the survey, but we just shared all the feedback with them, and we read it, and it's really just a great opportunity for everyone to understand we're all on the same team supporting kids, and it's not a gotcha. It's just information. So data is information, and it's that third data point. And if we can have thoughtful discussions about how to improve, then that's the best case scenario. And those kids were happy, but they were a little close today, Katie. I'll just say, I was like, oh my gosh, they're so close, but that's all right. They were outside.
Well, at least they were there.
Yeah, and to be clear, Becky's already working on that for tomorrow. So, and facilities is stepping in, and there's even more labeling and stuff going into the cafeteria and all that sort of thing. So.
I might add that I left lunch with an extra appreciation for the janitorial staff. I thought it was only my kids who didn't pick up after themselves, but apparently it's other ones as well. So there was a lot of trash left out there. So thanks to any of the janitorial staff that's on the call right now.
That's an issue we've been trying to address at Aspen High School for as long as my memory serves, and I don't understand it. I'm like, people, a little personal integrity, clean up after yourselves, but we'll keep working on it.
Hey, Sarah.
Yeah, we'll get Mr. Bastion to start laying that foundation for us. So
yeah, that's right. It starts early. That's right. A little discipline. Sarah, I also want to thank you, but I also want to bring up something that I think the rest of the board and the community should keep on the radar. And obviously it's project graduation. I know that there's been a lot of parents organized in a really, I think, powerful committee and group of subcommittees. Appreciate you and your team's, obviously concerted effort. I know that there's a lot of experience, and this year required creativity, obviously, to try to keep it together in some form or fashion. And for those that don't maybe quite understand it, they're watching this thing, but this obviously Project Graduation does a great job of keeping our kids safe on that important first evening after they're graduates from this great program. So appreciate the continued help there. I think there's going to be some additional assignments thrown around by parents here and there, including myself. But I just want to give an early thank you and some encouragement, frankly, from your team to continue to be as creative as you can. So I appreciate that.
Well, thanks. I think, you know, Dwayne, your work on the chain gang means you can really help with fencing and whatnot, if that
That's
comes
right.
up.
That's exactly right. Trust me, those guys are already deployed, and Roger Marolt's over there. His ears are burning, but that's okay. He's within earshot.
Dwayne does bring up a great point. Our parents are working really hard, as are the kind of graduation team here at the high school, to think about all of the possibilities, what we will be allowed to do and not allowed to do. And again, just trying to make sure we have some really great celebrations for kids in the safest way possible.
Thank you, Sarah. We're going to kick to Dan Blumberg for a quick middle school update in the principal search, if there's no more questions for the principals. All right, Dan, you're up.
Hey, everyone. Good evening. Just a brief update here on the AMS principal search. We continue to progress nicely along with the, in tandem with the original timeline that we'd laid out. We went through our initial interviews last week and selected 4 candidates to move forward into secondary interviews, which are scheduled for Tuesday and Thursday afternoon this week, at which point we will be huddling back up, discussing which folks we want to think about selecting as finalists and what the structure for finalist interviews might look like. Obviously, with COVID, it's going to be a little bit different than your traditional, site visit, come meet everybody. We'll have to be very thoughtful about, making sure folks have a chance to visit the campus and interact with those stakeholders that they'll be working with closely, but also do it in a way that's safe and cognizant of the COVID world that we live in. So I think that's the 60-second version.
Thanks, Dan. A lot of great work going on that committee, and we thank the many diverse stakeholders that are engaged and with us for meeting after meeting after meeting. And I think we have a nice pool. So very excited about that work. Mr. Mulberry, you're up. Bring us home.
I just want to just give a quick update on where we are with IB right now. Just as you heard from Dr. Miller, we are going to have our first initial presentation for the middle school this Wednesday. After we finish that, we will have a chance to download some information from all of the staff. We're hoping to do just kind of a KWL chart, what they know, what they want to know, what they learned from these presentations. So we will start to find where that group is and start to create our IB exploration team at that time. We're also planning on a parent night tentatively scheduled for February 17th. We're still planning on virtual schools visits and some PD around that work with the different leadership teams at the different schools that would be impacted by the MYP, so we could have a chance to do a deeper dive into that information as we move forward. And just to let you know, we did have a chance to look preliminarily at what the application process would look like for those programs, and we'll have a chance, I think, to have lots of feedback from staff members as we move through the process. So I imagine each time we meet, we'll have a chance to talk about that. Dr. Ball also pointed out that we moved the academic update just due to some lateness of some of the testing to the 15th. I know that we've been in and out of school, so hopefully we can do that. We'll plan on doing just a presentation on how all the testing went with STAR data, DIBELS data, and all the rest at a future meeting, very similar to what you received earlier this year in November. So just know that another test will be coming out, so you'll have, or another presentation will be coming out on the test data as we move forward. I know it's not on my and then Dave always says there and be brief, but here we go. We have some equity stuff here too. I just want to let you guys know that we have been doing a lot of work on equity, and I just wanted to let all of you know just some of the goals that we have around that, from just changing some language around practices in our hiring and recruitment, some of the work that we want to be doing, identifying both a student and parent group that can help us out with equity, start to evaluate curricular materials and look at some of those things to see if we can apply some work through an equity lens there, looking at our data as a school system through an equity lens, and working to create a reflection and some hiring practices with the equity team. And I just want to let you know that some of the work that was worked on at our last meeting was to do a district-wide presentation to staff and have a guided conversation from members of the equity team as we approach some of those issues. Please, if you're ever interested in any of the work that we're doing there, we'd also like to share and include you in any of that work as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mulberry. Very brief. You're to be commended for that. And I want to thank all the principals and Mr. Blumberg and all the folks who shared information for this superintendent's update. Thank you.
Great, thank you all. 6.4, February 16th agenda items. I would propose that we put in for OE monitoring, if this works for you, Dave, OE 9 through 12, 14 and 15. Hopefully in the consent agenda, if the monitoring seems appropriate.
Sure.
Great.
We'll take a look at it.
Great. Any other items that people want on the February 16th agenda?
Susie, I just want to also give a quick update. I've kind of edited this as the board meeting went on. We had some things come up, so I just want to let you know to take a look at the public content to see what is the latest. I just added the academic update, confirmed that we will have Aspen Community School work session. That was we're going to have that actually on March 1st. A DAC update, the OE monitoring, student services update, bond update, and the calendar discussion.
So not ASD update calendar?
Yeah, we'll have an ASD calendar update hopefully by then.
Okay, great.
Can I ask a question? Is that the 21-22 calendar, or are we already at the point where we're going the next year ahead? No, okay.
Now we're tweaking the 21-22 calendar, and part of the protocol is we don't have to, it's good practice. But according to the protocol, we do have to share it with a number of stakeholders. So we want to share it with, we shared it with principals on Friday. Want to share it with DAC. We want to share it with the greater cabinet tomorrow, and that sort of thing. So there's a number of stakeholder groups we want to run some things by. AEA for one. Did I mention them? Yeah. So we're in the process of tweaking the proposed calendar as written. We're looking at some substantive changes.
So the only thing that we had talked about putting summer school as some drafts of that on the agenda at some point. Is that March some point, or when are we looking at that?
I have it on mine for February 15th, but we're still working on a couple of loose pieces, including a possible tutoring solution that we're going to launch in the near future that would then roll into the summer. So we're looking on it multiple tiers, but it's on my board for the next board meeting. We're just trying to pull it together before we commit fully to it.
Okay. Do we have time to do it on the 15th or 16th? What date is it? The 16th then?
16th, I mean? Yeah, probably.
Okay. And I'm supportive of that sooner rather than later, as I've mentioned before. So
yes.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, understood.
Hey, can I just also say to everyone on the call, the calendar update is, we're not really planning on changing any major dates to start or ends or things like that. It's more for the development of putting in more professional development days is the main goal of it. So just to make sure everyone's aware of the purpose of the changing of the possible calendar next year.
Okay, so let's go to action items 7. Does anybody have any changes that they need to any meetings? That's what 7.1 is. I don't think so. Yeah, go ahead, Eliza.
Yeah, if there's nothing there, the ASD resolution support suspending state assessments. I apologize, that was not supposed to be an action item for this meeting. We don't have an update on that, but hopefully for next week, we're still just trying to figure out PSATs, SATs, and the state.
I have a verbal update. I spoke with, I had to drop out of French class for a couple of minutes to talk with CASB and their policy attorney, Josie. And the intention is to target the K-8 testing and not the national testing. So like the PSAT, the SAT, that's not the intention. And what some school districts are doing is putting in language to that effect. So what we will do is put language to that effect into the Aspen document. We'll bring that back to you on the 16th.
Sounds great. Okay.
I do have, Susie, just real quick, GP8E might be a good time for us to try to figure out when a good time for an AEA work session is for all of us. Either that or Eliza can just kind of try to do it by email, but I just want to just put that out there so we can get that scheduled sometime.
So do you feel strongly that it should be separate at a separate time from a board meeting, both you and Dwayne? Okay, feel strong. All right. Shall we, Eliza, do you want to try to work with that?
Sure, I'll throw out some possible dates. And then I'll send it to the board and do like a little survey to see what works. And I'll also connect with AEA to make sure that they're available as well.
Eliza, could you also include Dan on that? Because we have some timely stuff coming up for the middle school principal search.
Sure.
And I don't want that to conflict with this. It would too many of the same people.
To confirm, are you thinking if we can get together this month, February?
Yeah, I would like it.
As early as next week, possibly?
Yeah.
Okay, let me take a look into it.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. So consent action items. We have the meeting minutes, ESSER funds approval. I hope people had a chance to.
Susie, sorry. We did pull that one item for an action item.
That's right.
So maybe we should do that.
You're right. Operational excellence monitoring. Susan has a few words to say about.
Yeah, just what I was looking at these monitoring reports for OEs 1 through 3 and 6. The date on the monitoring report was to monitor the 1920 school year. But then some of the evidence and support for making reasonable progress were, or for complying with the policy, were from the current superintendent and staff. And so I just think it would be clearer, and maybe since we're monitoring kind of late this year, if we would change the date on these monitoring reports to year to date. So just the past year to the date of the monitoring report would be the period of time that we're looking at. That way, Dave and Theron can include things that they've implemented, since they've been in their jobs, and it just is less work for us to worry about what actual time period we're monitoring. So and then Eliza said going forward, monitoring would occur in the fall for the previous year. So that would be closer to the time period of actual work. So I think if we can just make a motion to change the date on all of these monitoring reports to be year to date, so the past year to date, and then if we want to approve them like that, then we can go forward as though they were on the consent agenda.
So I totally see where you're coming from, although I'd like to take it a step further. If it's year to date based on the last 12 months, and we have two different superintendents who were reviewing under this monitoring report, And that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know how we're reviewing Dave, but we have a former superintendent who was under that. I'm just confused by the whole delay and everything. I think perhaps if we're, for this year, it should start in July 1st, not on February 1st, 2020, right?
I mean, I guess the alternative would be if we wanted to have a chance to say, okay, you know, this is something that happened in the past and we want to make sure it doesn't going forward. But yeah, I agree. I think monitoring the whole just 1920 seems sort of silly since we don't have that administration in place anymore.
I guess I might have different answers for different time periods. So that's where my level of discomfort is with this. And we don't need to get into which topics under which OE, but or can we skip that period of time and start in July and just have the current superintendent? And it makes it a lot more clean, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Let's do that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So we need a motion to change the wording of that policy.
So it would be the 2021 school year to date.
We have is that a motion? Do you want to make that as a motion? Okay.
Yeah. So
I'll second that.
Okay, I'll do a quick roll call. Katie Frisch.
Aye.
Susan Marolt.
Aye.
Jonathan Nickel.
Aye.
Dwayne Romero.
Aye.
And Susie Zimmett.
Aye.
Great, thank you. I will change the wording on that. Do you want me to bring back then OE 1 through 3 and 6 as a consent next meeting, just with that verbiage change?
Yeah. And then going forward.
And to the extent that the leadership needs to, you know, modify or adjust or any particular tailoring of any of their reports in the face of that window change, because they may have actually tried to project beyond the time zone of previous, to the extent that there needs to be modification, please, we invite that, obviously make it applicable to the time frame now that we just set this particular measurement for.
And I would say going forward, anything that we're monitoring this spring would have that same date.
Yeah, right. Good point. Especially in these OEs. That's right.
Yep.
Okay, so July 1st start date for everything.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Yep. Okay,
this is focused, right. This is focused on leadership performance and operational excellence, right?
Yep.
That all sound good with you, Dave?
Actually feels a whole lot better.
Good.
Thank you, board.
Great. Great.
You should really only be reviewed on the things you can control.
Well, yeah,
come on.
Yeah.
Seems
I like July 1st on. I'm very, very comfortable with July 1st on.
Great.
And if you don't like other wordings in the OEs, can you let us, it seems kind of, they seem wordy to me. Do they seem wordy to you, Dave?
I'd say it's probably boilerplate language that's tending to roll forward, and Eliza and I will grab some time and get in there and run it past there, and we'll bring back cleaner versions in 2 weeks' time.
Great. Sounds great.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, now we'll move to consent action items, and we will take out 8.4 from there. And so we have the draft of the January 19th minutes, draft of the January executive session, 19th personnel items, donations, and we always want to acknowledge our donations.
Piano.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I can't play it, but I love the fact that somebody thought about it.
That's awesome. And so do we have a motion to?
Can I ask one question? Sorry, Susie, I know I'll only take a minute. This ESSER fund, I don't recall seeing before. Perhaps I did. Could someone just explain to me? Even after reading it, I'm still a little confused. Like, is this every year? How much? Blah, blah, blah. just a high level overview before we approve it.
Absolutely, if you guys don't mind. Sorry, I stopped my video here. Get it going. This is the second piece of the CARES package funding. So we got a little teeny chunk of CARES, and that's what this ESSER funding is related to.
Okay. This is not related to the expectation of potential future funding. This is separate.
No,
Okay.
this is separate.
Thank you. So I wasn't totally stupid. I hadn't seen this before.
No.
Thank you.
Katie, you are never totally stupid. So just for the record. Now can we have a motion to approve the consent action items?
So moved.
I'll second. Okay, do a quick roll call. Katie Frisch.
Aye.
Susan Marolt.
Aye.
Jonathan Nickel.
Aye.
Dwayne Romero.
Aye.
And Susie Zimmett.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
And then 9, future agenda items. Any burning future agenda items anybody have? And if not, we have a plenty full agendas, so we don't need to add anything if you don't need to. Debrief, Jonathan Nickel.
Okay, yeah, I just would like to thank everybody for, the spirit of the meeting and the kind of openness that we approached solving some differences that had carried over from the last one. So I think that the open dialogue and the continuing to listen to each other is kind of the key here, as I said at the beginning. And, realizing that everybody's being affected by this, and we're all in it together, and we just got to get to the other side. The great news is that we're getting a lot of positive data coming in on things going down. Still need, encourage everybody to practice the protocols, to be safe, to, do everything you can to make sure that we are doing all we can to keep the schools open. It's everybody here's responsibility to kind of make that happen. So we appreciate everybody's help with that. And then just on a more personal note, the thing that Dave brought up about the mental health, that's something that infects my family or has affected my family in the past. We're still involved with support groups in that area. And it's just, it's an issue for everybody in this difficult time. So please, like what Dave said there's people that can help. There's people who want to help. If you're feeling in trouble, students, staff, parents, whoever, reach out. So that's an important thing to do. So I would just close on that and nothing else. And thanks everybody for your active participation and willingness to listen and be open and move forward.
Great. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, real quick. Katie Frisch.
Aye.
Susan Marolt. Jonathan Nickel.
Aye.
Dwayne Romero.
Aye.
And Susie Zimmett.
Aye.
Great. Thank you. It's 6:36. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks,
Better
everyone.
saying bye instead of I. What do you think?
Thanks, Susie. Good work. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Good evening.